What is going on, everyone? Seth here from Disc Golf Strong. Welcome to a very special episode of Disc Golf Strong Inner Circle Live. So great to have you here. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the comment section. Want to see where everybody's coming in from for this, again, very special Inner Circle Live with my friend Sara Sinclair of Get Gritty Nutrition. She's joining us tonight. She is a nutrition coach. She's a pro disc golfer. She's got a great story. She's got a lot of great things to share with you on helping you optimize your nutrition for your health, for your performance, for your goals. And so we are really looking forward to having Sara join us. So she's waiting to come on in. And so first, before I bring her in, I want to see, where are you coming in? We got Oklahoma City in here. Welcome. Now, this is Disc Golf Strong Inner Circle Live. We do this for our Inner Circle members once a month, but we wanted to make this available for everybody to come and to join us, to listen. So if you're tuning in on the Disc Golf Strong Fitness Community Facebook group page, or you're joining us on YouTube, welcome. And our Inner Circle members, absolutely, our Inner Circle members, thank you for joining us as well. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to bring Sara in. We're going to talk about some great areas to help optimize your nutrition and talk about some behavioral habits. She's got some great things to share, like I said. And then we're going to give a little bit of time at the end to answer some questions. We probably won't be able to get to all of them, but Sara's got some great resources for you that you can connect with afterwards. All right. So let's go ahead. Let me see. We got Nevada, Dyer, Indiana. Hey, I know Dyer, Indiana. I used to live in Indiana when I was a little one. Southeast Pennsylvania. Awesome. Well, let's bring Sara in. Keep posting in. I want to see where everyone's tuning in from, but let's get started right away so we can get into learning all the great information from Sara. So everyone join me in welcoming Sara Sinclair. Sara, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, where are you tuning in from? So everyone knows.
We live outside of Nashville in a place called Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Awesome. Well, Sara,
Yep.
thank you so much for joining us for this special Inner Circle Live talking about nutrition. And
course.
you and I have had some great conversations about nutrition, about fitness. We've had the great opportunity to be together, like at Masters Cup and others, and have some amazing conversations. So I know that there's going to be a lot of wonderful information you'll be able to share tonight. So again, thank you. So let's jump into it. First off, tell everyone a little bit about yourself. That maybe this is the first time. I know a lot of people know about you. They follow you. They've heard of you. They've seen you live at events. But tell, for those that haven't seen you or heard about you, tell us about you.
Well, all right. So when it comes down to disc golf, I started playing in about 2008. I came over from the ultimate frisbee world when I was in college. So I've been an athlete really my entire life, starting at 6 years old. I did competitive swimming. I did, tennis, softball, basketball, baseball, ballet, like everything you can name under the sun as a child. And I always thought that I was a pretty good athlete. But the one main thing that came between me and a lot of my athletic and fitness goals was the nutrition piece of it. So I'll get back to that in a second. But so I ended up getting into disc golf in 2008. And I never really had a goal to become a pro disc golfer. I just got in kind of recreationally. I got thrown into my first couple events. I became a PDGA member. So I think nowadays I'd be considered an OG with a 41012 PDGA number. But yeah, and very long story short about my disc golf journey, in 2014, I ended up going pro after I took second to Vanessa Van Dyken at the Amateur World Championships in 2014. Congrats to her. I'm still 5 strokes. It's only 5 strokes. But no, we became really close during that event. And yeah, so 2014 started playing pro, got picked up by Innova, started playing pro just kind of as I always had been as a weekend warrior. I've always worked full time in the healthcare industry, doing marketing and internal communications. So I'm currently doing that as well. And then let's see, in 2019, I, I still playing disc golf this whole time. And I had a couple of kind of scary incidences on the disc golf course, which is kind of where my disc golf and nutrition, like all these stories kind of intersect each other. And what brings me here today is, I live in Nashville. I've been here for about 6 years. I've lived in the South for 10 years. The heat and the humidity I'm no stranger to that climate at this point. But I was having some scary situations where about halfway through, maybe like halfway through the first round, definitely by the second round, I was just feeling extremely run down. I've always been very affected by heat and sun. I don't know what it is. Like I'm kind of like, I kind of have like an olive complexion. So it's not like I'm super duper fair skinned or anything like that, but it's just always had a negative effect on me even growing up. So I always knew that I needed to hydrate. And yeah, this happened, I think 2 events in a row. And I was like, man, I need to do something. And so at this point, I was going to a group fitness gym nearby. And, all throughout this time, even though I'd stopped doing team sports in my childhood, I had gotten into running and lifting weights about 10 years ago, around the same time I started playing disc golf. And so those are always top priorities for me as well. And I was part of this gym, and the owner was like, hey, I'm starting this nutrition challenge. You should join. I think, you talk about wanting to take your fitness to a next level. And I know you're a professional disc golfer, and I think it would be a great fit for you. And I was like, oh, like eye roll, like, okay, like I'll try. Yet another fad diet. Cause I, at that point, had done like the low carb and the keto and the clean eating and all the things under the sun. And nothing ever worked for me long term. So I'm not kidding. Like 1 week into eating properly, which ended up being probably 600 calories more per day than I was eating before that. I played another disc golf tournament in the same exact heat and humidity, and I felt 1,000 times better. And what I kind of realized is that I was starving my body of carbs and protein for so long because I was always chasing after this like weight loss goal. Like, oh, if I could just lose 10 pounds, if I could just lose 20 pounds, and I could do it through, trying one of these fad diets and then immediately it not being sustainable, me feeling like crap, and then just like going back the other way.
Yeah.
That was, please interject because I've been talking for what seems like an hour at this point, but yeah.
No, so yeah. So, well, go ahead. Do you keep going?
No, so then, I mean, that just got me I just completely nerded out on this strategy. It's called macro tracking, and I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. But it's basically just making sure that you're eating an adequate ratio of carbs, fat, and protein, which are what macronutrients. And those are what make up our calories that we eat every day. And just as a side note, I've been a vegetarian for about 15 years. I don't like to overly promote it now that I'm a nutrition coach, because I'm like the most non-judgmental vegetarian you will ever meet. My husband is a complete meatitarian. Seth knows. He gets like boxes of meat delivered to our house that I have to unpack and put in the freezer and all of that. But it's nothing that I would ever push on anybody. I think it's just a very personal choice. But I didn't know how to eat enough protein. I didn't know how to get enough protein, and I was just starving my body of carbs, and all of those things just made me feel so terrible. And now that I went through this 2 actual back-to-back challenges with this gym, ended up losing 30 pounds. But the awesome part is I've kept it off for 2 years, and I nerded out on it so hard that I ended up building a nutrition business of my own, because I wanted, I've got friends and followers and people I've never met on Facebook that constantly are posting about, doing the next fad diet and things not working for them, or them being unhappy with not even just their bodies, but like their mindset, or
Yeah.
all of those things. And it's just something that I finally figured it out for myself and I wanted to help other people with. So that's why I created Get Gritty Nutrition.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. And when you talk about fad diets and uh there's so many of them out there. I mean, there's the books. You go to Barnes and Noble and it's just like entire walls full of like the diet that is exactly going to work as they say. Like it's going to
Yeah.
work, but it's going to starve you, or it's going to not be something that's sustainable. And I know that I've never had success with anybody with those long-term success at all. And your coaching sounds like in both your experience personally, but also seeing others experience and hearing and working with others, knowing that fad diets, those don't work. At Disc Golf Strong, something I've always been very big on, and even really before Disc Golf Strong, I've been coaching for over a decade, is building a strong foundation. And I have a philosophy called that I say throw putters first. And that is, in disc golf, even if we started out throwing high speed drivers when we first started, what we know now, if somebody came up to us with a high speed driver and said, "Hey, I'm just learning to throw. Can you show me how to throw this?" We would probably say like, "Hey, let's like put a putter in your hand and let's start with
Yeah.
let's start throwing a putter and let's start throwing standstill." And that's my philosophy also on training. It's like, hey, let's not go to Olympic cleans if you've never done anything for core stability or shoulder stability or hip stability or dead. Like, let's start building that strong foundation. And I know from you and I, from our conversations, that we have similar philosophies on nutrition, where that's a big part of yours on building a foundation. So even how you said, you mentioned you want to talk about macro tracking at the end because you found that really works. But I also know from our conversations that we share the same philosophy of building that foundation first. And a lot of it comes not, yeah, macro tracking is important. And I'm excited to hear you talk about it. But there's things that come before that people may not realize is important in improving their nutrition, both for their health and their performance. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I've got three main areas, and they're like Seth and I we can talk, and we have talked for hours about all of this stuff. But I'm really passionate about the mindset side of things, as I know Seth is as well. And one of the things that is the most fulfilling for me as a nutrition coach now is helping people feel better about themselves and to celebrate things that aren't like the number that you see on the scale. And it's about implementing strategies that work for you and your lifestyle that make you feel good overall. And that could be like the way that you feel in the disc golf course, the confidence that you feel, all those different things. So this is kind of like my three core areas to strengthen your foundation that you can use in nutrition. So first is balance. And Seth and I could talk all day about balance when it comes to strength as well as nutrition, but I'm really big on this all or nothing, on not implementing an all or nothing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So I also want to have a little bit of a disclaimer. There's lots of diets out there that people naturally gravitate toward because it's what they like as far as their taste buds go, or their lifestyle goes, or medical um, issues that they have to eat on lower carb or higher protein or something like that, or religious reasons. There's lots of different reasons, or like the availability of food, the access to food, things like that. So this is not to say that like anything that we say is the hard and fast rule. Everything kind of comes with an asterisk of you have to find what works for you. And what I think works for most people long term is balance and not having that all or nothing mindset. Like, okay, I want to lose weight. I'm never going to have a donut again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens when your family wants to go out for donuts in 2 weeks? Like, you're good for 2 weeks, and then your wife is like, "Oh, sweetie, I'd really like to go get some donuts." And you're like, "Nope, like, can't get any donuts." Either
Yep.
you're going to have a donut and then you're going to completely fall off the wagon, or you're not going to have the donut and you're going to be miserable
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to make your family feel bad, or you're going to go get
Mm-hmm.
something else, but they really want donuts.
Yep.
So for me, it's more of like, so the next thing is like the 80/20 rule. And that's, this is still within the balance area, but it's eating 80% of, I don't like saying good foods or bad foods or healthy or unhealthy, because there's a place in your diet for every food. I think it's nutritious and less nutritious foods. Those are the words that I like to use. So 80% nutritious foods, and 20% fun or comfort foods. So
Mm-hmm.
nutritious foods, the types of things I would put in that category are fruits and vegetables, lean protein, um, lower fat dairy. So things like that you're getting micronutrients, vitamins, and fiber. And then the fun foods for me would be like ice cream, donuts, pizza, cake. Like, it's not to say that you can never have any of those things again, because we all know that we deprive ourselves of the things that we truly love to eat. Eventually, that's all we think about, and that can
Yeah.
lead to binging, and it can lead to this like, oh man, well, I fell off track, and so my diet, I ruined it all, and my diet's over.
Yeah.
And like, I can't tell you, I think something that I failed to say when I was talking about my backstory is that I've been overweight my entire life since I was 6 years old. My mom was a dietitian, and genetics and other things that came into play in my childhood that I didn't really have choice over, unfortunately. I was overweight from 6 years old until the age of 32, 2 years ago. Um, and you have, I mean, I remember drinking my first Slim Fast shake at age 8 years old. Like
Mm.
that, those are things that I will never forget. And then having these like extremely unhealthy, disordered thoughts and practices around food, and all of that leading up to 32 years old, where I did this like all or nothing mindset stuff. So, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm not only that, not only it was part of my own personal journey, but now I've worked with like 60 or 70 people now who can attest to this working. I mean, all or nothing, I don't think works in really any aspect of your life.
No.
It's just like
No.
it's an unhealthy way to think.
Absolutely. I follow the 80/20 rule as well. Like I just got back from Iowa for the Des Moines Challenge, and uh we went out. Like I was yesterday I was in Milwaukee for that celebrity pro am event, and like there was a lot of really delicious food. And if I was following a plan that deprived me from eating any of that really delicious food, I would not be happy right now. I would be a very sad person because like
Yeah.
it was amazing to go there and enjoy it. And I've had people ask me, someone asked me in Des Moines, they're like, "You're eating that right now?" I'm like, I go 80/20. 80% of the week, for me, 80 I also apply 80/20 is 80% of the week I make healthier choices. 20% of the week I eat whatever I want. And this is one
Yep.
of those 20%, right? And it's not even strict for me in the sense of like, some people it works where it's like, hey, it's my 20% is Friday, or my 20% is, Saturday night or whatever. Mine is just I wake up and I make healthier choices, but then it just flows of, hey, this is the moment where my wife and kids want to go do this. This is what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter. It's like, oh,
Yep.
you got to wait till Friday. Some people maybe it works. Maybe I don't know how you coach that with your clients, but for me, from doing this for a long time, I find that it's fluid for me. But the all or nothing that way in fitness as well. It adds up. Everything adds up, but if you try to go all at once and you don't give yourself any chance of enjoying your life and enjoying those kinds of foods, it's not fun. It's not
Yeah.
sustainable, like
Like
you said.
I so I'm in a calorie deficit. I actually work with my own nutrition coach because I've got body composition goals right now. And so for the last 3 months, I've been in a calorie deficit, except when I was at Masters Cup. because I don't get out to California very much and I didn't want to have to track every single thing that I ate. And then also when I was at the World Championships in Utah, I've never been to Utah. I heard there are some awesome vegetarian places. I wanted to have a couple beers. I had an ice cream cone as big as my head one day. And did I come back from that trip a couple pounds heavier? Absolutely. Am I mad about it? Absolutely not, because I know I
Yeah.
can get right back on track. And like it's just 1 week in the whole scheme of my life. It's not going to make a big difference. So that's really the mindset stuff. It's like you can fall off the wagon one meal, one day, 1 week, and just know that you can get back on. And that's the great thing about the strategy that I teach, at least, is just like my clients sometimes will be like, oh, I don't feel like tracking today. I don't feel well. Or like my birthday's tomorrow. I'm not going to track. I'm like,
Yeah.
don't track. Like
Yeah.
we need to have good balance here so that it's sustainable long term.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have the patience. They want to see um, the immediate results. And that really doesn't happen with stuff like, body composition. You can't do that overnight or in a week or even in a month. So,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
um,
And Sarah, I just want to say, I love that you are public about this as a nutrition coach, because, for a long time, being in the industry, I would sit there and I would go to fitness conferences and I would be out to dinner with fellow coaches, and they would be eating like pizzas and this and that, but then they would never, like, they were afraid of like their clients ever knowing they ate that, like,
oh yeah.
and they wouldn't preach that, but they would do it. And I remember I had a client one time, someone, she was a member of my gym, and she was blown away that I would tell them right away. I'd say, hey, just so you know, I believe that, you should enjoy your life and you should make healthy choices, but also this. So you may go out one night and you may walk into a restaurant, you may see me eating pizza and drinking beer, and that's like going to be okay. So
We've
don't
done
be
that
shocked.
together.
And yeah,
We've done that
exactly, right.
together.
You and I have done it together, right? And
Yeah.
they're like, wow. And she told me, one of them, she said that she was doing a boot camp, like a morning boot camp, like 4 or 5 days a week one time. And she walked into a restaurant, and the trainer, the coach, was sitting there eating like nachos. And the trainer like told her, she's like, please don't tell anyone you saw me eating this. And she's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I totally felt disconnected from her, because she was just like, like she
She's
was
being a
so,
hypocrite. Yeah.
yeah.
Being a
And she was
hypocrite.
so
'Cause
afraid that,
she herself couldn't even sustain what she was preaching. Yeah.
exactly. And so sharing that message, being open about it, and say, I think that's really impactful for a lot, for people to hear that. They're like, hey, I can reach my goals. I can, while also enjoying my life. I don't just need to, cut out all my calories and eat nothing and this and that in order
Yep.
to have these goals. So that's fantastic. So that's principle number one. Let's
Yep.
talk principle number two.
All right. Principle number 2, I talk about healthy mind, healthy body. It's just the concept that your mindset affects everything.
Mm-hmm.
What I kind of talked about with the disordered eating. I mean, I wasn't at a point where I needed to go to any kind of facility or get help or anything. This was like back in the day, high school. But so many women deal with this like whole mindset of, you know, you've got to look a certain way, especially with Instagram, people using filters. I rarely use filters. I actually do have makeup on today because I didn't want to be like super shiny. I've got lights because it's about to get dark here. But like I don't think Seth has ever seen me with makeup on. It just doesn't happen. But just the inception of Instagram and people putting these perfect bodies out there have really caused a lot of issues, especially I think for females, and thinking that they have to eat a certain way, they have to look a certain way. As disc golfers, it's just as hard because, I mean, we don't even know what the exact numbers are, but we do know that as far as PDGA membership goes, only 7% are women. I would expect there to be more that play recreationally, but still, that's a tiny percent of disc golfers. So um, it's just, I think you just have to kind of figure out what works for yourself and for your own lifestyle. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If, like I said before, if you do gravitate more toward like, I like to eat more fat than carbs, or I don't even really know what any of that stuff means. But I'm going to try to eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. Like that's totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just like I talked about before with my clients, when you're making progress, there's so many ways to measure all of the different markers in your nutrition or your fitness journey. And I'm sure there's tons of different markers that you use with your athletes, Seth. But
Mm-hmm.
just the mindset change that I work with my clients on, and seeing them, their original goal is like, I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to get back to my pre-baby weight, or things like that. And then over time, I start seeing them, because I've got check-in sheets and they put in like what their weekly successes are. I've actually shared some of these to my Instagram stories. I start seeing over time that the focus becomes less on a number on the scale and more on, oh man, I just did my 100th Peloton ride and I felt awesome about it. Or like, I just fit into this pair of jeans that I haven't fit in 2 years. Or
Mm-hmm.
I had more energy to play with my toddler today than I did 3 months ago. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really, really easy to get wrapped up in numbers, whether it be the size of your clothing or what you see on the scale or how much you bench press. Actually, I'm very excited about that, because that's like I just hit 100 pounds and I'm like psyched
Awesome.
about it. But it's more about just like, by doing that, it's not necessarily the number. It's just like a benchmark that I hit and I feel really strong because of it. And it's not something that I ever thought I could do.
Yeah.
So just kind of putting yourself out there, being willing to be vulnerable, and like talk to, like, so many people are going through the same thing that you are. And I think that it's awesome to bring a group together like Disc Golf Strong. If you're feeling it and you've got like are wanting to put in the time and financial investment, like hiring a coach for any of these things just can be super valuable. I know, personally through hiring my own coach. But there's just so many ways that you can switch your mindset and start focusing on things that really matter, because BMI
Yeah.
is crap. Scale weight is crap. None of those things are indicators of health. And yeah, there's just so many ways to measure progress that I think people forget about and kind of pass over when thinking about like a health goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm so on board with that. My motto, our motto at my gym when I had it, which was called Iron Republic, our motto was "Live Life Strong," and we would say strong means so many things, and it can mean, it means strength, strong mind, strong body, strong relationships, strong member of the community, diversity, so many different things. But I would always tell them, like, what you do in here, like, this is your lifting, you're doing this, but this is not the goal. Like, the goal is to be out there and I had people who did diving and people who traveled a lot. It's like, this is what you do in here is really so what you can do out there. And so having that as the mindset of, I'm doing this and I have and it's for the health of my life, versus just like leaning out, like you said, like a number
Yeah.
or a BMI or this and that. I said, this is, you want to live life strong, like that's what you really want to do. And I said, like I said, I tell them it's not just about lifting a weight. When I say strong, it's not just what size kettlebell you deadlift or what size, that's all great, but it all matters if you focus on that and how what you're doing enhances your life. I found, people that resonated so much more with people than focusing on a scale weight or focusing on
Yeah.
a BMI or anything, like, which I agree with you on BMI and all that. It's just, yeah,
Yeah, it's crap.
you
It's
could do a
hard to
whole
do.
thing
I
on
mean,
that. Yeah.
and it takes all of the mindset stuff. Again, it's one of those things, like with a health journey, and this kind of leads in perfectly to our third thing.
Mm-hmm.
None of this stuff happens overnight, ever. Like, what did they say that it takes? I don't remember, like 90 days to truly form a habit, like 90 days of consistently doing something. Maybe you can correct me. I don't know if it's actually 90 days. Don't quote me on that. But it's a very long time
Yeah.
to do something consistently until it's become a daily habit that you don't have to think about. So I think
Mm-hmm.
just going back to like the fad diets, if that doesn't feel good and natural to you and it's like a struggle and a burden, then it's not going to last very long. And it's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with tracking macros. Like tracking macros, it's at first it's a little bit of a learning curve because you're whether you're tracking macros or just your calories, like tracking and logging stuff in MyFitnessPal or another app like that, it can feel like a burden, but it takes me like 5 minutes a day to do it now, and it makes sure that I'm staying on track every day. And it's
Mm.
just about like I'm prioritizing this part of my life for 5 or 10 minutes every day to know that I'm going to feel the positive benefits in all other aspects of my life. When I have my nutrition is on point, I know my disc golf game is going to be better. I know that my clarity at work, which is what actually makes me money, what pays the bills, not disc golf. I'm going to be better at that. My running is going to be better. My weightlifting is going to be better. So it all, and my disc golf performance, like everything just ties in. My relationship with my
Mm-hmm.
husband, like I get hangry real fast. So like he knows to keep me fed. And when my nutrition is not on point, I'm not a happy camper. So it just kind of plays into all the aspects of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the third one is implementing small changes slowly. And you could
Mm.
definitely talk about this on the disc golf strong side. But so for the past year, I was doing several nutrition challenges. There may be some people on here that were part of my, call them Grit Squad nutrition groups. And I've now fully transitioned to one-on-one coaching. But in that group, I was able to um, kind of implement small changes over time. So like the first week, people would get up and running. I'd give them all the tutorials on how to actually track their macros by putting, weighing their food, putting the information in MyFitnessPal, seeing how it stacks up at the end of the day to hit their carb, fat, and protein targets. And it could be a little bit overwhelming for someone if I was just like, all right, go do this right now, and today you have to be perfect. Like by the end of the day, it has to be perfect. Like it's about giving yourself grace, and for me, giving my clients grace, and knowing that this is a lifestyle change that's meant to be sustainable and long lasting and not feel like a burden, because as soon as it does, it's going to stop.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was able to like, all right, you guys have that part down. Well, now let's focus on more fiber. So let's make sure that you're eating 25 grams of fiber per day. All right, you got that down. Now let's focus on making sure that you're drinking 100 ounces of water per week. All right, cool. Now let's focus on blah, blah, blah. So it's just like implementing small changes over time to ensure that it's like going back to the all or nothing mindset. So each of my clients would create different goals. So they'd have like their big goal, and then they'd have process goals. So if their big goal was like, I don't know, I want to get down 2 pant sizes or whatever. And their process, I'm like, all right, cool. How are you going to do that? And they're like, I don't know. It's like, no, we need to figure out like exact methods that you're going to implement for you to get to this goal. And that could be, I'm going to walk 8 to 10,000 steps per day. I'm going to drink 100 ounces of water per day, and I'm going to eat 2 to 3 portions of vegetables per day. And those three
Mm-hmm.
things are like easily achievable, like small steps that you can make that will eventually consistently over time help you reach that all-time goal that you have. But if you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, tomorrow I'm cutting out sugar, and you have like, we all know people that are like, oh, I need to lose 50 pounds, I'm cutting out sugar.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how much? And those are the people that are like, oh, I'm not going to eat like bananas and apples anymore because they have sugar. It's like, that is
Yeah.
nature's candy. Like, You should never
Yeah.
be cutting out fruit of your life. That's a whole other thing. But those are the people that, I mean, that doesn't last because that's a huge change. That's a
Yeah.
huge change. If you were like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm going to cut out soda, okay, I can see how that might be an easily maintainable goal, or maybe like
Yeah.
I have like one soda a day or a week, something like that. But going from 0 to 100 and just like going all or nothing just really sets you up for disaster. And as you don't hit that daily goal, that's when people just give up.
Yes. Yeah. It's I'm gonna cut out sugar. I'm gonna start running 5 miles a day. Like,
Yes, I was
don't
going
do
to say that
either of
too.
those. Don't do
That's what
either
I
of
say.
those.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I have clients that are like, all right, I'm going to start. Maybe one of their process goals will be like, all right, I'm going to run 10 miles a week. It's like, you don't even run 1 mile a week now.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not going to, I'm sorry, but like, that is not realistic. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And if
No.
you do start doing that, it's going to feel like a burden, and then you're going to stop doing it soon.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Uh, there's a concept I talk about in the Performance Academy and the Inner Circle, the aggregation of marginal gains. And that's really the small little things you do is what adds up. So if this is neutral, you just do get 1% better, 1% better every day. Here you're going to go up. It's going to gradual over time, but this is sustainable versus not doing anything or trying to get 100% better, and then you crash back down, because you're
Yep.
trying to do it so fast, right? And we had talked about I mentioned like the pizza to veggie scale, right?
Yeah.
And when in our conversation, so a good friend of mine, Mark Halpern, a registered dietitian nutritionist, he talks about the pizza to veggie scale. I should have written this down, but it's basically where's that pen here? I didn't do this, but I should have. Pizza. Let me do this.
You
I'm gonna go
artwork on your wall. You should
pizza.
just draw it on your
I
wall behind
should. I know. Don't tell Tiffany, right? And so says this. I don't know if this you can even see this. It might be washed out. No, is it gonna be washed out?
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pizza to veggie scale. And he says like most people live like on this end of like the scale, right? And then they're like, oh, I want to lose a few pounds, or I want to get a little healthier. So they think that in order to do that, they need to go from here to here, and then they need to live here. So it's like,
Yep.
oh, if I want to lose a few pounds, I need to go 100% healthy. I need to go all out. He's like, that's not sustainable. You need to go like the best is like around right here, right? Let
Yeah.
me just do that, right? Where like, or even maybe like, yeah, like right here. That's not going to look good on, but yeah. So like he said, this is like sustainable. This is you're living your life. You're going out with some friends or your family. You're enjoying it. You're more towards veggie, right? But he's like, hey, you want to get on stage or something. You got a big goal, like you move closer to here, but you know that you can come right back here versus going from here to here and then you
Yep.
crash, right? And so that's not sustainable, like you're saying. And I love that you talk about that. And that's a big part of, those foundational principles. And another thing I say all the time in Performance Academy Inner Circle is like consistency is the magic pill you must swallow. It's more about consistency.
Yep.
That's the magic pill more than any other like quick trick and, tip that you can, that people get, or these fast things. That's not sustainable. It's being consistent. If you did a little bit of exercise every single day, that's better than doing one big exercise training session every 6 months.
Yep.
The consistency is going to be the magic pill. So Tiffany
I
says
tell my
veggie pizza.
clients, yeah, I love veggie pizza. I tell my clients it's about what you do most of the time, not all of the time.
Yep.
And it's all about balance over perfection.
Yep.
Perfection in this type of world can, I mean, just can kill everything. If you are
Mm-hmm.
shooting for perfection, it can kill you mentally, physically. It's shooting yourself in the foot. So
Yeah.
if you're striving for perfection, then you're not going to be mentally healthy, and you're probably not going to be physically healthy either. So All about balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it all comes back to the first one, really.
Yeah, the balance. And
Yeah.
now we hadn't set to talk about this, but I would like to hear your thoughts. We did talk about a little bit in our conversations about like you know, the emotional side of eating and where it can be tied to things in our past. Not to dive too deep into it, but like, one thing I was telling you is, like I have a craving for Long John Silver's, and
Oh,
and people go, "Oh, you have a craving for Long John Silver's and like chocolate milkshakes and like I have a craving for those."
yeah.
And I think about it, and one thing I don't do is I tell myself I can never have I tell myself I can have Long John Silver's anytime I want.
Yeah.
Just not I'm just don't want it right now. And but I go, why do I have a craving for Long John Silver's? That's gross. Like, why would I? Oh, my grandmother who passed away when I was 18 years old, every time I would go to Indiana, her favorite thing was to take us out to Long John Silver's and get hush puppies and this and that. So my craving for Long John Silver's not because their food is amazing, it's because it's tied into a past memories that are good memories that I had with my grandmother. And so that's why I'm getting a lot of these cravings now. And so I go, why?
Yeah.
Am I a bad person because I want chocolate? No, my grandma made the best chocolate milkshakes as we watched movies. And, after we got home from Long John Silver's, and it was all nothing healthy. But that is what is driving a lot of my past. But then like I said, I don't ever tell myself I can't have it, because it's that whole like pink elephant, the white elephant, right? Like, you tell yourself you can't think of it, then they did those
All you
studies
think
where,
about.
yeah, that's all you think about, right? And so I don't tell myself I can't ever have it, but I haven't had it in, God, like 8 years or more. But but I could have it. I just,
Yeah.
as soon as I tell myself I can't have it, I'm probably gonna get a craving for it. So I just don't do that. But what are your
I think
thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, we're all human. We all have cravings for things that people view as bad, or I like to say less nutritious. And
Mm-hmm.
I eat cake and ice cream and popcorn and cereal and chips every single day. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not kidding you. If you follow me on Instagram, I post a lot of my food. I'll actually do like a full day of eating post sometimes. Um, and yes, it's like at this point in my calorie deficit, this is like going a little bit in depth about the calorie deficit thing. It's all about like food volume. Like I
Mm.
love to eat. I love the action of eating. I love the feeling of eating. I'm just like a foodie in general. I watch the Food Network constantly. Shout out to Andrew Zimmer, and if he's watching, he's probably not. You and Seth are friends now. Um, but I love to eat, and so I try to eat as much food within my macro allotment every day. And
Mm.
so I'm allowed to have like Ben and Jerry's if I wanted to. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am the master of my own food destiny every day, but I would like to save the calories and eat like Halo Top instead,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that I can eat even more food later and like have popcorn or something. But anyway, um, yeah, everyone, like whether it's cultural, our society in particular revolves around food. Every holiday, there's different foods tied to the celebration. Within our families, there's family food traditions. Most families have them. Um, it's totally natural to crave certain things. And just going back to the all or nothing mindset, you'll be miserable if you're like, man, my Grammy makes these like amazing butterscotch cookies. And if I was like, oh no, Grammy, I'm gonna diet, like I'm not gonna have any
Yeah.
of your butterscotch cookies, like she makes them once a year,
Yeah.
I would be
Exactly.
miserable.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to partake in those things that are special to me and allow myself to have them in moderation so that I don't binge on stuff later.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just saw something on Instagram right before this. It was it's better to allow yourself one Oreo per day for the rest of your life than telling yourself that you can never have them, and then one night you just get this hankering for Oreos and you eat the entire package in one sitting and then feel terrible about yourself. Like just allow
Mm-hmm.
I have a blog post that I wrote like a year ago that was like just eat the cookie. And it
Yeah.
was about a client who was like, she did a check-in with me And she was like, I really wanted to have a cookie, but I told myself I couldn't. And I was like, just eat the cookie. I was like yelling at her. And I was like,
Yeah.
just eat the cookie. Like, what's wrong? Just eat the cookie. Like, come on. Because it's just
Yeah.
gonna, it's like when you don't want to look at something, it's like a train wreck. You're like, it's all I can think about looking at. So just, if you allow yourself the small bits in moderation, it's not going to be this like, this off limits thing. Because we all want the off limit thing, and just make it not off limits to yourself, and then you're not going to stress yourself out as much.
Yep. I love it. Well, yeah, so your three principles, the first one was balance, the second one was healthy body, healthy mind. Now, I put lifestyle change versus quick fix, but you said,
Yeah. Implement small changes slowly.
there you go.
Yeah.
And so really, for those who didn't weren't tuning in the very beginning, what we were talking about was that, there's micro tracking and macro tracking, and Sarah's going to touch on those soon, but we have, the principles that I use, the philosophy that I use in coaching, and the, philosophy that Sarah uses. I say throwing putters first. Sarah, you have that a similar philosophy.
Just eat
That's
the
how I
cookie.
define it. Yeah, you say just eat the cookie, as you know,
Yeah.
uh, because all the other stuff, when you get down to the details of it, if you don't have like the foundation, if you don't have balance, if you don't understand the importance of balance, if you don't understand the importance of the healthy mind, the healthy body, and implementing small, then there's that foundation. That leads to like the fad diets, because then you're just thinking about the quick fixes, and you're worried about the weight, the scale, and the BMI, and you're stressed out, and you're not able to enjoy your life. So you have to really focus, put time and effort into focusing on these things first, and moving into the other stuff, quickly enough. But you can't jump over these. You can, but if you do jump over them, then again, that leads us down paths that we don't necessarily want to go, or that are not going to be beneficial for us. And a good friend of mine. Well, so to set this up, most of us, we have goals, but we don't really know our goals. Like we don't know our goals. And a great friend of mine, Coach Stevo, who is all about habits and behavior change, and him and I talk about this all the time. And he would say that like athletes and like military, and a lot of them, like they have a point A and they have a point B. Like a point A is where I'm at right now, and a point B is the Olympics. Like, so to set up that plan is not easy, but there's a defined goal there. And he says most people, they don't have a point B, they have point A and point not A. Like I'm at point A, and my end point is like just point not A, like point not
Yeah.
here. And so then that like gets us all, is like, whoa, we can go so many different ways and this and that, right? But building this foundation first, these principles first, is really going to make a big impact and allow you to really have better chance to optimize and get yourself to where you want to go. So anything you want to add, jump in or share more on that before we head to the 8 small things?
My dogs, it took them 49 minutes to bark, so I'm very proud of them. I don't know if you can hear them. So we've got the 8 small things. I've got a couple other sections of stuff, but yeah, we can go into the eight small things is like the simple strategies that you can implement today for healthier living. And this ties into disc golf, just like overall health, mindset stuff. Can you hear my dogs barking?
Yes, but
Is it
that's
loud?
okay. No,
Okay.
it's fine.
Sorry about that. So if you want to throw that up on the screen, I can go through
Yep.
that.
Yep. So I'm going to add this in. There we
So
go.
we went through like the first 3 pieces that Seth and I went through more on the mindset or behavior change part. And I know people are like, okay, like, I get it. I get the mindset stuff. All right, now like give me the things to do, like the actual concrete things to do. And this is like my go-to list. I actually posted this on Instagram a month or 2 ago. And these are like my top things of like what you can do to implement change starting tomorrow or today. So 1, drink half your body weight in ounces of water each day, up to about a gallon. After that it's probably a lot of water. If you're feeling thirsty, that's just like a, personal preference thing. But I shoot for, let's see, I've got one of these. Oh, I'm also sponsored by Prodigy now. I said earlier, I felt bad because I was like, I was sponsored by Innova, but I'm sponsored by Prodigy now. So here you go. Brand promotion there. I drink 3 to 4 of those per day. So that's quite a bit more than half my body weight in ounces. And then stuff like unsweet tea, that counts. And then like a lot of people are like, oh man, I can't just drink plain flat water. It's just really boring to me. So if you do like Perrier or like the 0-calorie water enhancers, all of that sort of stuff too can spice up your water game. The next is moving more and getting off your behind. So there's this thing called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's called NEAT. And a lot of people, I think, prioritize like their HIIT cardio workouts or like their 2-mile run or whatever. And then if you've got a desk job, you do your cardio thing and then you go back to your desk and you just sit all day. And so for me and for my clients, I have, the priority for me is being on your feet as much as possible throughout the day. 10,000 steps is like the best practice. And that comes from this concept of there's said that there's about 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat, and walking 10,000 steps per day for 7 days will burn 3,500 calories. So it's like this, and of course this is different for every single person, but that's kind of like where the 10,000, and it's just like a nice round number. And but that's where it comes from. So people are always like, why is 10,000 like the golden rule? And it's not for everybody. If you only walk like 2,000 steps right now, then just try to increase it. Like implement those small changes. Next week, try to get to 3,000 steps on average. The week after that, 4,000 steps, and just do like, you can take your dog for a walk. You can chase your kids around. Just stay off of your butt as much as possible. Next is prioritizing lean protein at most meals. Some examples of lean protein are chicken breast, turkey breast, tuna, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. For me as a vegetarian, it's seitan, tempeh, tofu, edamame, lentils. So things like that. When people ask me how, like, I want to track macros, but it's really overwhelming because I've got all these different ingredients and things. And I was just telling someone right before this in one of my nutrition groups, this is how I kind of create my meals. I choose my lean protein. I choose a vegetable or a fruit. I add some sort of like other carb or starch. And then I end it with like a sauce or condiment or fat or seasoning. So that could look like chicken breast. This is actually the example that I just gave somebody. So start with your chicken breast, your lean protein. Then adding in like grilled peppers and onions. So that's your vegetable, which also includes fiber. And then adding in another carb, which could be either like rice or a tortilla. And then your last thing, because fat adds up faster, you could add cheese or guacamole, salsa, and seasonings. And that's really how I build like all of my dishes. But I always start with the lean protein first to make sure that I'm prioritizing that. The next is eating 2 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. It is a recommendation for women to get 25 grams of fiber per day and men to get about 35 grams of fiber per day. And the best sources of fiber are your whole foods, fruits and vegetables, as well as oats, quinoa, whole grains, things like that. So if you prioritize your fruits and veggies, then you're automatically going to get higher protein or higher fiber, which helps in so many different aspects of your life, but namely digestion and helping protect you from some chronic diseases. So those are big. Feel free to interject anywhere.
Those are great.
If I'm going too fast. Okay. All right. So number 5 on the next slide is aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. This is one of those big ones that people, myself included, tend to overlook. Sleep is extremely important for all aspects of life, for focus, for if you're in a weight loss phase, keeping your stress down, which leads into the next one, is huge. And it's hard to lose weight if your cortisol levels are always super high. So sleep can definitely help with that. I am like a sleep maniac. It is like probably the highest priority for me during the day, or the night rather. I get like 8 to 10 hours every night. Granted, I don't have kids. I've got 3 crazy dogs that you just heard barking, and they keep me up at night sometimes. My husband's out of town constantly. So that can be a little bit of a struggle, but like I prioritize my sleep like crazy. The next is stress reduction. I never was really into self-care until about 2 years ago, when I was like, man, self-care, that's just like, something that a lot of people do that have too much time on their hands. And now I'm like all about it. Like every day I do something. Like yesterday I did yoga for 25 minutes. And then I did like a face mask last night. I do meditation. I spend more time outdoors. I spend less time. You wouldn't know it because I'm like constantly on Instagram posting content and things, but I try to spend time away from screens as much as possible. And just kind of like just looking for different things to reduce stress, because my real full-time job can be pretty stressful at times. So making sure to manage that is important. Next is listening to your body and prioritizing recovery or rest days. I know there's schools of thought where people are like, rest is for the weak, like you don't need recovery days. And that's simply like cool if you want to do that, but that's not where my philosophy lies. Again, with balance, like there's a time and a place for hard, tough workouts. And there also should be prioritized time around recovery days. If your goal is to build muscle, you can't build muscle without muscle recovery. So that's really important. And just listening to your body, like, yeah, there's going to be times when you don't feel motivated to do a workout and you push yourself to do it. But if you feel sick, if you are having like, you need a mental health day, things like that, it's just really important just not to just prioritize your self-care, and just because it's like on your calendar to run 10 miles. Maybe you only run 5, maybe you skip it all together and spend time with your family. Like just listen to what your body's telling you. And then going into that is giving yourself grace. And this just goes back to the balance and all or nothing mindset. Like I'm not perfect. My clients aren't perfect. Like your story about the trainer eating pizza. I'm sure that trainer wanted his or her clients to think they were perfect, but that person is clearly not perfect. Like, so even as a nutrition coach and fitness person, I am not perfect. I skip workouts. I go over on my macro goals. Like, it's just giving yourself grace and knowing that tomorrow you can get back on track and not freaking out over it. Like not just allowing yourself just kindness like you would toward others.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. These are all great points. And so for everyone tuning in, I'm going to scroll up and down. Look at these 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll go back to 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to take a moment, look at them. You can write it in there, the tip, the small thing, or just put the number 1 or 2 or 7 or 6 or whatever. What is one thing that you feel like you could start implementing that could help moving you in the direction that you want right away? So we got aim for 7 to 9 hours, prioritize stress, listen to your body, give yourself grace. I'll go back to 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want to hear from you. We got drink half your body weight, walk and move more, prioritize lean protein, eat 2 to 3 servings of fruits and veggies daily. So if you could only, all these are things that we definitely recommend you start working on and focusing on. These are all easier things that you can do that are not going to take a ton of your time, but move you in the direction you want. But what would be one thing? If you can only work on one thing. Let me go to, is it showing up for you on the 5 through 8 there? I think
Yep.
so. Yep, it's showing up.
See,
All right, we got
4.
1 and 4, 1 and 5 are big ones I need to work on. Let's see. I'll scroll back to 1 through 4. Walk more. And
yeah, and
so,
these
like
are all
Sara
like
said,
we talked about. Yeah, don't implement. Not you don't want to start tomorrow and be like, all right, all 8 of these things, let's go. Like pick one of
exactly,
these things.
exactly. So that's where we're going. This is what's one thing that you can start doing right away. Now, drinking half your body weight in ounces of water each day, up to 1 gallon. Like Sara said, that's a really good rule. Now, as a first responder, I would say don't go and just start chugging a ton of water and drinking too much water. So, which most of
Yeah.
us are dehydrated. We're underwatered, and so we need to increase our water. But there is such a thing as it's called hyponatremia. Hyponatremia, where it is way too much water, and it can mess up your sodium levels in your body. So don't just say, okay, they said to start drinking more water, so I'm going to just start drinking, tons of water nonstop. Don't do that. But this is a really good rule that Sara put in here, right, for number 1. All right. Anything else we got? 5 would be my 1, 1, 4. Awesome. Michelle, I need to move more. Fantastic. Thank you all for sharing. And all right, Sara, what else we got? I know you got a few other things you want to hit on. What else is important for them to
Yeah.
know? Garrett says 2 is great. When I go play disc golf, I average 15 kilometers. Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, and we'll do like a disc golf tie-in at the end, but disc golf is one of those perfect things it's not a high, it's not a high impact endurance. Well, depending on the course that you're playing, or maybe how many courses you're playing in a day, or how many holes you're playing in a day, it can be an endurance sport, but it's one of those things that's just great for moving. If weight loss or weight maintenance is your goal, it's just walking in general is so much more important than doing like a 30-minute hit cardio workout. So yeah, disc golf is great for so many reasons.
I teach for an organization called Original Strength, and it's all like about ground-based movements that we did as children. But one thing we say is walking. We call them like resetting your body, hitting reset on your body. We say walking is the ultimate reset. Like we were made to walk. Like as humans,
Yeah,
we were
I love
made.
that.
Our ancestors had to walk all over the place. Like they couldn't just sit all day. If they sat all day long, they were not going
They
to
would
be,
die.
they were going to die. They were not surviving.
Yeah.
So we were made to walk. Awesome. All right. So let's go with what you got next.
All right. So I have talked quite a bit about macros. So macros, yes, it is like a buzzword, but it's like literal science. It's not some like fad diet that's coming and going. It's like tracking macros. The strategy of tracking macros has been around for a very long time, but it is gaining popularity because it works, because it's just science. You're tracking everybody who is here, everybody who is alive is eating macros every day. It's carbs, fat, and protein. So if you look at any nutrition label, you'll see your carbs, fat, and protein, and a whole bunch of other stuff, but those are macronutrients. And I just want to go over real fast the importance of each of those macros. So protein promotes satiety. So I can never say that word. Satiety. So it basically helps you feel full for longer. That's why they always say, eating lean protein, like chicken breast or turkey breast is it just can make you feel full for a longer period of time. And you're not going back to the snack cabinet because you like eat something that doesn't make you feel full, and then you're constantly going back. So fill up on lean protein. It can also help you maintain your lean body mass. So your muscle and promote muscle growth, and then also boost metabolism and fat burning. The next is fat. So fat is super important in supporting hormone regulation. It can help with absorption of certain vitamins, and it also protects our organs. And then carbs. No, carbs are not bad for you, and they will not make you fat. I eat, how many carbs am I eating nowadays? I think I'm eating like 215 grams of carbs per day, and I'm in a calorie deficit. If I were eating maintenance, so the number of calories that I need personally to maintain my weight, I think I'd be eating like probably 260, 270 grams of carbs per day. So carbs serve as your main energy source. It aids in digestion. It's important for heart health. And then there's so many different types of carbs out there, but like we've said before, aiming for the 80-20 rule. So having more food coming from whole foods, so fruits and vegetables, and just trying to choose complex carbs as much as possible. So that would include quinoa, lentils, oatmeal, as opposed to like sugary drinks, baked goods, and candy. Not to say that you can never have those things, but try to eat more of the complex carbs than the simple carbs. So those are the three in a nutshell. I've got lots more information on my website, getgrittynutrition.com. You can learn. Got tons of FAQs and more info than you'd ever want to know about macros.
Awesome.
And then I just wanted to like tie into the whole, just going full circle as a disc golfer, obviously here with Seth of Disc Golf Strong, and just kind of talk about how nutrition plays into, and good nutrition plays into disc golf. For me, just talking about the mental side of it, the mental strength. We talked about before, like I have reached this level of confidence in myself as a disc golfer that I never thought was possible. Like I've always been a pretty confident person, no matter what size I was. But I know that that can be a real overwhelming or intimidating factor for a lot of women, especially. Disc golf is like a small or large stage, depending on what event or what tier you are. And it's one of those sports that you're like on your own. When you're on the tee, everybody's looking at you, whether it's the 3 people on your card or like 3,000 people, maybe not 3,000, maybe 300 people watching you as spectators or anywhere in between. And it can be really hard and mentally taxing to play well when you don't feel good about yourself. And this is not to say that like feeling good, like losing weight equals feeling good about yourself. Lots of the content that I post on Instagram and Facebook that talks about weight loss, I usually put a disclaimer on there that says, this is if your goal is weight loss. Your goal does not have to be weight loss, and you don't have to want to lose weight. There's this whole thing in our society that's like, you must lose weight to be happy or to be healthy. And that's not the case. Like my entire goal is for my clients or for myself to be happy and feeling confident no matter what you look like and what size you are and what the scale says. So I just do a lot of work with people on just having, like, celebrating those things that we talked about, is like the increased strength and the increased endurance and energy, and just being confident in your body and in your clothes, whatever that looks like for you individually. My problem child dog is now crying at the door because he probably wants to eat. He's like me. He gets hangry. Maybe he'll make an appearance at the end. But
this is my 20. This is my 20%. Like, give me my
Otis
food.
Redding. He's the one that keeps me up at night, where I don't get my solid 9 hours of sleep. But yeah, so just having better nutrition can just give you the confidence that you need to take your disc golf to the next level. It certainly has for me. It can also just make you sleep better. Just being more in tune with what you're putting in your body. And like they've shown that carbs can actually help you sleep better. Finding the energy that you need during the day via good nutrition, so that you're not crashing in the middle of the day, can actually help you sleep better at night. just living in a better mindset, knowing that you're in control of knowing what what you're putting in your body, you're in control of it, you're working toward goals, and all of those things can just make you feel more confident in yourself as a disc golfer, and I feel like in life. And then physically, just having better cardio. Like for me, it was just crazy the instant, not instant, but after a week of eating proper nutrition, I like immediately felt the benefits on the disc golf course. Like it immediately translated to better disc golf for me. And then, yeah, just looking good and feeling good. Just, it doesn't matter if you're a size 22 or a size 2. If you feel like you're in control of all aspects of your life, I mean, it translates into just so much higher confidence and better performance, especially when all eyes are on you, which can be scary and intimidating. So yeah, it's awesome. Really all just comes down to mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all that is great information you shared tonight, Sara. And before we wrap it up and tell people more about, how to learn more about what you're doing, do you have time for a few questions?
Sure.
Okay. So what we're going to do to keep this from going way too long, because I usually go very long on all my talks. I can go way over time. We're going to go five questions. So the first 5 questions that come in, we're going to go with those. So if you have anything, get them on there. If there's more than 5, I'll share that with Sara, and you can always reach out to her through her, whatever way Sara best prefers to be, reached out to. But her website has a lot of great information. So Garrett has a question. How do you figure out your own personal macros? Is it a general thing tied to body mass?
So there are lots of calculators online for macro tracking. I just copy and pasted. Here's a link to one that I would recommend. If you are interested in nutrition and want like awesome recipes, this guy on Instagram is Cheat Day Design, one word. And he's created this secondary website that I actually do guest blog posting on. And it's an awesome source of information that debunks all of the fad diet type stuff. I just sent you the link. But in order to calculate your own macros, there's a few pieces of data that you need, or information that you need. And it's height, weight, age, and then the biggest one that's typically difficult for people to figure out is the activity level. And with tracking macros, I think the difference that a lot of people find between tracking macros and just straight calories is it's all dependent on a average activity level. It's not like you go for a run, you look on your watch to see how many calories you burned, and then you eat those calories back. We don't do that. We account for a total average activity level. So all of that information you would put into this calculator that I sent you the link for. There you go. And I posted it. Just put it in there. And even though, so these are like your calculated macros, there's so many different reasons. Like your if your lean body mass is higher, then, if it's on the higher side, your metabolism is going to burn faster, and these numbers might be a little bit low for you, or vice versa if your body fat percentage is a little bit higher. So these are all like calculations, but it's kind of just like taking these numbers, implementing them, and then tweaking them. And that's where having a coach can really help customize and like adjust. And like I make macro adjustments whenever relevant for my nutrition clients, and it's based on like tons and tons of different factors. So, but that's a good starting point, that calculator that Seth put in the comments.
Perfect. And if you can't, for those of you who can't see it, it's thehungrytruth.com/calculator/. Yep. Awesome. All right. Next one. Hugh asked from the Inner Circle, suggestions for a low salt diet.
So I guess I would wonder if that's for a medical issue. If so, so we don't really track salt. That's one of those things that's like a secondary, it's like sugar. Um, like if we're eating the proper number of carbs, then we know that the sugar is kind of, there's sugar and carbs. So automatically we're going to be eating a certain amount of sugar. We're going to be eating more sugar, obviously, if we're eating more simple carbs, um, as opposed to like sugar derived from fruit. But that's a difficult one without a little bit more information. I would just, again, focus on whole foods. So having those meals that start with your lean protein, your fruits and vegetables, like I said, and then just start plain and then add in any kind of like low salt content condiments or seasonings. Like my go-to seasonings are red pepper flakes, like a whole lot of them, garlic powder, onion powder. I do add in a touch of salt and black pepper. So my recommendation, without having more information, would just be like start plain and then add stuff in that's kind of within your limitations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Let's see. Cal says, carb load before or around, yes or no?
So the recommendation, if you were to do like a strength training or endurance type workout, would be to eat around 30 to 40 grams of carbs. Disc golf to me is one of those things. It's not like a high endurance sport. Again, it depends on your level of physical fitness. If you're like, I can't think of a good course off the top of my head, but something that's like very, has lots of elevation change and like really is a workout where your heart is like pumping and your cardiovascular is going. I would say, but disc golf basically is just walking with like a little bit of weight on your back, unless again, it is really physically taxing for you. So again,
Mm-hmm.
it's very like dependent on personal information. But for me, I would say no. If you're in pretty good physical shape, I don't think it's entirely necessary to carb load before disc golf.
Got it.
A
Okay.
half marathon or other like long distance run, absolutely, and during. But yeah, I like to spread my carbs out throughout the day. I definitely have snacks while eating disc golf as well.
Okay. Fantastic. Any more questions? We got room for two more. And if not, then we'll wrap it up. I'll give you a minute to post if anyone else has anything. Great
Oh,
information, Sarah. Yes, go ahead.
we have I'm doing a giveaway. Like I talked about at the top of the show, I do one-on-one coaching. I've actually got 3 open spots on my one-on-one coaching roster. So if you don't follow me on Instagram already, hit me up on frisbee.food.fitness. DM me there, but you can also check out all my information at getgrittynutrition.com. And then
Mm-hmm.
I have also got a self-guided program that includes my online course, almost 100 recipes, grocery guides, your custom macros, tons and tons of different things. And Seth is going to post a link to a form right now. So if you go ahead and put your information into that form, I'm going to pick one person to win my self-guided program, which is $150 value.
Mm-hmm. I'll post that. And I did have some
Oh,
more
we've got
questions that
another.
came in. So,
Okay,
yep,
cool.
we got that. And then I realized we have an Inner Circle member who he's traveling for work, but he had asked questions earlier that I have for you that I want to make sure Mike
Nice.
asked those. So first, let's go to this, and then we'll post those links there. So
Okay, cool.
intermittent fasting and disc golf from CMAS on YouTube.
Again, it's another thing that's very personal. Intermittent fasting is a good tool for. So intermittent fasting, I think, has is kind of a misnomer. People think of it as a diet, but it's really just an eating window or an eating pattern. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically, so say I've got 2,000 calories, or say I needed to eat 2,000 calories to lose weight. That was going to be a calorie deficit to me. It doesn't matter if I eat it throughout the day, 18 hours, or if I ate it in a 8 or 9 hour span. It's still 2,000 calories.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the reason why intermittent fasting works for people for weight loss is because they're restricting the window in which they're eating. And that typically causes people to eat fewer calories because they have less time to eat. Other people not. Fasting in disc golf, it really depends. Without more information about your personal, situation, if it makes you feel good, then do it. If it makes you feel like crap, then don't do it. That would
Mm-hmm.
be
Yeah.
like, yeah. I don't intermittent fast. Like I said, I like to spread my nutrients out throughout the day, but yeah, it's really just personal preference.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've been intermittent. I know I've been intermittent fasting for over a decade, and I it's really worked for me. But there's many people that it doesn't, and
Yeah.
so it's really experimenting it with it. But having a coach and having some guidance or at least a program to follow is a good thing to do. Um, awesome. And then Mike had asked, how can I limit snacking while satisfying a sweet tooth? And he says, also staying full so I'm less tempted to snack constantly. So let's go with the first one. How can I limit
Right.
snacking while satisfying a sweet tooth?
Eat sweet foods. So, like I talked about earlier, that I eat ice cream and cake every day. It's really just about the choices that you make. So there's this really good company called Kodiak, and I love all of their products, and they're especially good when I travel for disc golf. Um, so the products that I love for that by them are Kodiak Cake Mix, and this is like getting into the nitty gritty of things, but this is when I talk about like eating cake every day. This is what I'm talking about. It's like pancake mix, but pro tip, if you put it into a bowl and add like a teaspoon of baking powder and some water and make it like a batter consistency and put it in the microwave for like a minute, it's like a cake bowl. And the great thing about the Kodiak products is that they're all high protein. So they've got like this cake mix that you can use for what I just described, or pancakes or waffles. They've got these like graham cracker bear bites that are like kids' food that I eat every day. They've got granola bars and little like oatmeal cups. Um, so a lot of their things are sweet, but also high in protein. And I mean, they typically hit the spot for me. So I would just find like more nutrient dense options. And then also, you can't go wrong with fruit. I always keep a giant bag of frozen fruit in the freezer, and I'll use that like on top of those cake bowls, or just a serving of that with like some whipped cream on top. Maybe put some cinnamon or some like stevia on top of it to make it a little bit sweeter, and yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
get creative. But
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
I haven't done it in a while, but I used to take a little bit of Greek yogurt and then I would put some peanut butter in there and then some chocolate protein powder and you mix that up.
Yes,
Oh,
I do that too.
so good, so good.
It is really good.
And another thing I do is uh I'm big on setting your environment up for success. And so
Yes.
like if there's ice cream in the freezer, I'm eating ice cream. Like I'm probably trying to eat it all. Like if there's like stuff if like there's sweets in the house, like I'm going for it. If there's like salty snacks, I'm going for it. So like, if I tell myself like I can have it, but it's at the grocery store and I have to go get it and then I can't keep it in the house. Like if I'm willing to go and drive there, then I might as well then sure. Like I'm gonna go eat it.
That's
But
it.
like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So like out of sight, out of mind. So my husband and I we're pretty unique in a lot of ways. We're not like the typical married couple in a lot of ways, but in one aspect is that in 7 years together, we've probably eaten the same thing for dinner like 3 times in 7 years. We grocery shop, like he'll shop for me, I shop for him, blah blah blah, but we cook for ourselves. We eat what we want, when we want, how we want, and we actually have separate cabinets. And that's
Mm,
because we eat completely different things. Like he will never eat the plant-based stuff that I eat, and I will never eat all the meat that he eats. So it doesn't make sense to make meals together for us
Yeah.
specifically. But he doesn't eat as nutrient dense foods as I do typically. And so that's how I'll say it diplomatically. And so he's got his cabinet that's got things in it that I might like binge on if I didn't have a lot of self-control. And then we've got like the freezer setup that's got two big drawers, which I know that not everybody has, but it works really well for us because if he's got like the gallon of ice cream, I never see it. So he's got the stuff that like
Ah,
I might, so it's just out of sight, out of mind.
yeah.
And then just related to his second question about filling up on things, if you fill up
Yep.
on, so I talk about the higher volume foods, and the higher volume foods are typically fruits and vegetables. So it's like, what's a good example? So maybe like one cookie that's this big and takes like 2 bites to eat will have the same number of calories as like a huge salad that's like this big and will take like 100 bites to eat, and maybe like 30 seconds for this cookie and 5 minutes for this salad. So
Mm.
I typically will go for the salad most of the time because I love eating and I want to fill up on, like, I want to be satiated. I want that to fill me up and keep
Mhm.
me full for a long period of time. So those are
Mhm.
like the higher volume, um, fewer, like lower calorie options. And that will help you, like filling up on whole foods, fruits and vegetables, and lean protein will help you do that.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. So we got a recommendation for Kodiak frozen waffles. Someone said
Yes,
you
they're great.
purchase your self-guided course, would totally recommend. Awesome.
Thank
All right, we do have
you.
one last question on this, so we'll hit it since there's only one more on there. Good fast food.
So I don't eat a ton of fast food. I would say my go-tos when I'm traveling are Chipotle, Qdoba, things like that, where you can really customize what you're getting. But I would say just in general, go for like the grilled chicken options over like the Big Mac. I have a client right now who during the day his schedule can be just really inconsistent. He's like going to all these sites and is working with a team and will stop off to get fast food like almost pretty much every day. And we've gotten to a place where he knows he can go into pretty much any fast food restaurant and know which menu items are better or more nutrient dense than others. And then just looking for different side items. So I tell him like you can have the French fries, but if you have the French fries for lunch, that might mean that you can have less for dinner, or like you have to skip dinner that night or something. Like it's kind of like a budget when you're working within macros. Um, so he has the fries maybe once or twice a week, but then just looking for other side items. Like I know a lot of places have like cut up apples or carrots. Like McDonald's has a little yogurt parfait that are really good. So things like
Mm,
that where you can look for different swaps, and then trying to stay away from the super calorie dense drinks as well is really helpful.
got it. Perfect. All right. All great content, all great information. Let me put this on here of where. Let me pull this banner up. So we got there's your Instagram, frisbee.food.fitness. And then I'm going to post in here the link. And then if Tiffany would post it in Facebook, because this service I use, Facebook won't allow me to post to Facebook from here. Facebook's got all kinds of crazy posting rules, but Tiffany can do that. The getgrittynutrition.com / free toolkit. And then
Yep.
there is
And
also,
then the giveaway link.
that's the Grit Solo.
Oh, no, here you go. I'll send it to you in here. So if you want to
Okay.
get in on this giveaway for a free self-guided program, I'm going to send you the link right now. Fill out, it's just like your first name, last name, email address. I'm going to pick one winner and I'll calculate. You'll send me some information if you win, and I'll calculate your custom macros, and you'll get access to my online course, tons of recipes, grocery guides, like all the things under the sun that can help you get started on your self-guided nutrition journey.
Excellent. Awesome. So the links will be posted there for the free toolkit and the form to get on that giveaway. And make sure you go and follow Sara on Instagram over at frisbee.food.fitness. And then if you're following, you're tuning in here, if you're watching on YouTube on Disc Golf Strong, make sure that you subscribe as we get any of the notifications. So when we put out new videos, make sure you join us on the Disc Golf Strong Fitness Community Facebook group for those who are tuning in that want to learn more information there. But thank you, Sara, so much for your time. Truly appreciate it. Shared so much great information with everybody on how to really optimize your nutrition for health and performance. And appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun. We could have gone for like 3 more hours.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? We could have. It's gonna be. Yeah, it's hard to stop sometimes.
Yeah.
Many times it's hard to stop. But thank you again for all you Inner Circle members. Thanks for tuning in. We're gonna start up here soon inside the Disc Golf Strong Inner Circle Facebook group, a private coaching room, our Inner Circle coaching room that takes place on Tuesday nights, but it's tonight after this call. So make sure you go over there and tune in. But thanks again, everyone. Have a great night. Keep training Disc Golf Strong so you can play Disc Golf Strong and optimize that nutrition and learn more from Sara Sinclair. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.